I'm here with Gemma Poole, who is the founder of the Essential Baby Company, and you're a midwife. Right? Are you still practicing as a midwife at the
Yeah.
moment?
Yes.
So, 'cause I know you said you were doing shift work a while ago. Do you still do shift work now too?
I do, and I support women throughout, antenatal, through the birth, and postnatally as well.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a bit more about the Essential Baby Company and kind of how it came to be and what you do with it?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for asking me, actually. It's a question that I have that I'm asked quite a few times. Like you said, I'm a registered midwife, but I was a mature midwife and a mature student. So before I became a midwife, I'll take you right back. So I grew up, I don't know if any of the listeners or anybody that's watching this would know Nottingham, but if they don't, then there is a really deprivated area called Hyson Green. I grew up in Hyson Green. I was the first person in my family to ever go to college to do an
Oh, wow.
academic subject. So I want to just have that as a backdrop, that university, having your own business, and having a profession that you had to go to university for was never on the cards for me or anybody in my family or anybody who lived on my street or went to my school. It was just not a done thing. But as it happens, a lot of investment was pumped into that area because it was deprivated, and it still is the 11th most deprivated area in England. So it still has the legacy of no investment, poor outcomes for people who live in that area. So I grew up and it's very multicultural. So I grew up in a school where having white skin was a minority. So my friends, predominantly English was their second language. The majority of my friends had brown or black skin, and we all lived in an area where we all struggled. So it wasn't a place coming from a place of privilege, it was coming from a place of humble beginnings. So how I got here. So it's really important that I say that because of the journey that I had from there to here. I want it to inspire people, and I want it to be a journey that anybody can do. So it's not just about people who have parents who had gone to university or had gone to college. It's for people who wants to do something, who's always had a dream but never thought that could get there. And
I think that's so important as well for people to hear that.
It
They know that
is.
they can do it.
Yeah. And it's not just you read it in books or you see people, influencers on Instagram, and you think it's really hard to do that or achieve that. And their story's so out there, it's not personal or achievable or in reach. So as I started, I went to college to do health and social care because I always wanted to be a midwife. And I knew that I needed some experience. So I went to the local hospital and I was a dinner lady at a local antenatal ward, as it was. And that was my first kind of job. So it was really good insight of maternity and how it worked. And there was a midwife there who said, if you want to do midwifery, go and get some life experience and you'll always come back to it. Because when you get into this, it's overwhelming. You won't get out of it. So I did that. So I wanted to do good, but I didn't know exactly how. So I started my own business with the knowledge of supporting older people to remain independent in their own home for as long as possible, which is really weird And how I came into that, that's another story. But I got some funding from the government to do that. And I soon realised that there were older people were in these homes and sheltered housing complexes because of a fall. So they had fallen over, they had reduced the movement, they had broken their hip, and they shuffle now, and then all of a sudden their independence has dwindled down to go into the community room, and that's it. They don't get out and about.
Yeah, it can be
So
really debilitating. Yeah, when that
yeah.
happens.
So what I did is I took that and I wanted to help to prevent that. So I qualified as a gym instructor, and I specialised in chair-based exercise for older people. So I did like sessions of chair-based exercises, and I did my own little circuit around Nottingham, and I had lots of customers. And then I was approached by a gentleman who was employed by the local college. So one of there was two major colleges in Nottingham. One at that time was called Castle College. And he approached me and he said, every time that I go to an older people's home, your name comes up. And we want to get into there. So is there any chance that you can do exactly the same as what you're doing, but we would put you through university, and
Oh wow.
we will, and we will pay for your university to become a lecturer.
Oh wow, that's a great opportunity.
Absolutely fantastic opportunity. So I said yes, of course, because like I said from the beginning, university was never on the cards for me. Never. You know, I couldn't afford it. My parents couldn't afford it. It was never an opportunity that I wanted to get into. I knew that going into maternity and being a midwife, I would have to go to university, but I didn't quite know how. So this was a really, like you said, a really good opportunity. So I did that and I became a teacher. And that's how my career progressed. So I developed long and short courses, but for cohorts of the society that were underserved and underrepresented. So my specialist was English as a second other language, supporting domestic violence survivors, supporting refugees, and supporting teenage males who had been excluded from school. So as you can see, it's those kind of underserved communities that I was supporting to try and get them back into education, because they'd been deemed as hard to reach, and I hate that term, but I was kind of given that as a goal to try and get them to attain a qualification, which I was really successful with. And I was successful because I co-produced. And that just means that I did it with them. So I would say to them, what do you want me to do? How should I make this course to make you want to come and sit an exam and to pass the exam? So as I went to university to become a midwife, I would be sitting in that lecture theatre going, at one point they're going to tell us how to communicate with people who don't have English as their first language.
Yeah.
At one point they're going to tell us what jaundice looks like on a brown baby. At one point they're going to tell us how we determine sepsis on black skin. And it never came. It absolutely never came. And remember, my background is supporting these underrepresented and underserved communities. So I wasn't actually asking for me, I was asking for them, because I knew that they had always been overlooked. So when I didn't get the answers, alarm bells started to ring. Because if we're not learning that in the classroom, how can then we as practitioners support the communities that are coming through the door effectively and equitably? We can't, because you're
exactly.
not
Yeah.
telling them.
No,
Which is
because that's
exactly,
where people learn. People learn at university, and also when you're at university, you don't have that much time to go out and find all these extra resources and compile them all together yourself. You expect that your course teaches you everything that you should need to know to teach the population, but unfortunately, we've been seeing. I think improvements have
absolutely.
been being made, but yeah, we're not doing it as well as we perhaps could be.
Well, we didn't drop off the face of the earth yesterday. Come on.
No, no,
Exactly. So
exactly.
it's not like they haven't had the chance to implement this um, a long time ago. So as a student midwife, some people may not know, but 6 weeks into your course, you are out in practice.
Oh
So
wow.
it was very apparent that what we're learning in that classroom is not what is happening in practice, or it is what is happening at practice, meaning that we're not serving the communities with the exact same outcomes. And that was very evident in the outcomes and the statistics that we see.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
women,
It's represented
it's
in like
representative.
government data. Yeah.
Yeah. So the two are not known. It's not a coincidence that we see the lack of learning and the representation in medical education and our medical health professional education, and the lack of representation and equitable care in practice. So
Mhm.
I just came home with all these frustrations and just wrote everything down. And then I laid them over all the policies or the strategic strategies that had came out of the NHS and other organisations. And I kind of laid them up against each other going, wow, there's huge gaps in here. We're saying that we need better outcomes by 2025, but we're not teaching the workforce how to get there. There's still this black
Yeah.
hole of educational needs here. Nobody's addressing the issue at the start of the problem. We're only
Yeah,
focusing
they're
on the
saying we need
end.
to do it, but how?
Yeah,
No one's doing it.
nobody's doing it. And I think that's the ignorance that comes along with thinking that it's already been done, because nobody can
Mm.
actually fathom that this still happens in 2023. We're still learning only on white skin tone. The dolls that you see is only on white skin tone. The examples that the teachers give is only representative on light or white skin tone. So people can't understand that the lack of representation is still happening. So they just
And when you tell
bypass that.
people these statistics, and people are like, oh, how can black mothers be at such an increased risk of death in childbirth and things? And people are like, no, surely not. Surely that's not happening. But unfortunately, it is
It
happening. And it's
is.
happening now. And
It
yeah,
is.
you would think we're far too advanced to allow skin tone to be a determining factor in
Yeah.
your health outcomes. But if unfortunately it is.
It is, and it's so upsetting. And how the Essential Baby Company was birthed, excuse the pun, is because of, while I was doing all this research in the background, my nephew was born, and he has brown skin tone, darker than me, and his outcome was determined by his skin colour. So he had really, really poor, high levels of bilirubin in his blood. So his jaundice, he was jaundiced, but really high levels of bilirubin. And that wasn't picked up by the healthcare professional, not because of incompetence, but because she didn't know, because nobody had
Yeah.
said, this is what jaundice looks like on a brown baby. Everybody, including me, was taught that jaundice looks yellow on babies. But we know that yellow doesn't present on darker skinned babies. And all you get from the books is it may be a different colour. On a darker skinned baby, they may not have yellow colour, but there's no then further education to say this is what you should look
Yeah.
out for. It's just one little disclaimer sentence. This may not be apparent on dark skin tones. So the policy at that time was, if the parents or if the healthcare professional was concerned that the baby had jaundice, you stripped the baby off and you took it to the window and you eyeballed that baby. So it's just a visual aspect. I know, it's crazy.
I can't believe that. How long ago
Crazy.
was this?
He's 4. So it wasn't even
Oh
that
my
long
God.
ago.
In 2019, that was the...
Yeah. So
Gosh.
basically, you just held the baby up to the window and then you eyeballed this baby. And if it didn't look yellow, then it was fine. And then, but you can see where the flaws come in, and you can see where
Yeah.
the gaps and the inconsistencies and the inequalities can play a huge effect. So I watched this play out as a student midwife, and I was a third year at that time. And the look on my brother and my sister-in-law's face when my nephew was in intensive care, neonatal intensive care, was enough for me to say enough's enough. I still get goosebumps just thinking about it today. They were newly parents. Their life had been turned upside down purely because the lack of understanding and the lack of representation in education. That was it. It was nothing to do with them. It was nothing to do with the baby. It was purely the system's fault. Okay?
Yeah, because like you said, it's not incompetence on the practitioner's
No,
behalf, because if you're not taught something, how are you supposed to know? You expect your education to provide you with everything you need for clinical practice, and just saying, oh, it will look different on dark skin tones. Okay, show me what that looks like then. Show me how
exactly.
to identify it. Don't just tell me it's different. Show me what I need to look for.
Yeah, yeah, and not just because what happens in practice, and I learnt this very quickly, is then when as soon as you're qualified, you are that responsible practitioner for two lives, the mother and the baby. And even though that midwife doesn't have the clear understanding or the education to make sure that they can make an informed decision about the care that they give, it's still upon that midwife's pin. And it's the midwife, if a bad outcome happens, it's on that individual midwife and not the system, which is awful, absolutely awful. And I didn't think that was right, because myself as a midwife and my colleagues were then held on a higher standard than the system that had brought them to this kind of platform, if you like. They were set up to fail, and we are set up to fail. In my eyes, if you're not giving them the right tools and resources to support everybody in the community that crosses your threshold, then we cannot be held accountable as a medical professional, because we don't have that knowledge. And there was something wrong with that. So the Essential Baby Company knew that there had to be a bridge between a marginalised birthing community and maternity care, and that's what we do. Is we span our unique way of engaging marginalised communities to identify the gaps in knowledge for both health professionals and black and brown skin communities. And we bridge that with my knowledge of creating long and short courses with underserved and underrepresented communities. I bring education and that knowledge down to really understandable, accessible, relevant, but evidence-based information to the people that need it the most. And it's co-produced. So before I was talking about my experience of being a teacher and learning very quickly that I had to co-produce courses, I still use and utilize that experience in within my work now. So I go to and
Mm.
I immerse myself within the diverse communities, and I say, how do you want this information presented to you? And then I
Yeah.
will do that according to what their needs are, rather than at this moment in time, you will find that information is on a boring leaflet with really complex words on them, which I struggle to understand some of the jargon before I came into maternity or had my baby. I'd never heard of the word preeclampsia or,
Yeah.
abruption. So there are words that we use in maternity that are totally out of context in the everyday living world, never mind a deprivated area. So what the Essential Baby Company does is we understand that community and we are at the beating heart within that community, and
Mm.
we use their strengths to then formulate and facilitate the development of inclusive tools and resources. So not only are we educating and advocating for diverse communities to optimise their health within the perinatal period, we are also bridging that gap within the healthcare system, because we're using the words and the people within those diverse communities to directly inform training for healthcare professionals. So it's from
No.
their mouth, it's from the beating heart of the community right the way to the training for healthcare professionals within that facility. So it's locality based. So it's not like a national thing. This
Mm.
this particular training course will be developed for that workforce. And with my knowledge and understanding on how to build training courses and educational platforms, we just utilize that. So it's not rocket science what we do, but what we do really transcends, and it really makes a difference to both the individual person on the ground and my colleagues as well working in maternity.
And I think it's so nice hearing your story. And I know you didn't have the conventional kind of journey to becoming a midwife, but I think all the experiences you had before that allowed you to do something really
Yeah.
incredible and really make a difference, which you may not have done if you hadn't had the upbringing that you had, if you hadn't faced certain barriers and certain challenges. So even though it might have been a bit difficult, it just goes to show that you can use your experiences, whether good or bad or hard, to do something really amazing, which is
Yeah,
what.
absolutely, absolutely, and that's the tone, and I think I've gone about it the long way, but I wanted people to understand that you don't need to be conventional. You don't need to have this straight cut. I've gone into the NHS and I want to make a change, so I have to go up the ladder to get there. Actually, you can do it. A girl from Hyson Green that has severe dyslexia, that could never imagine to be sitting here talking to you today, did it. But I've gone through around the houses to get there. But every single experience that I have been exposed to has all led to this, which is really, really strange, because all the skills and attributes that I've collated along the way is everything that the Essential Paper Company is and
Yeah,
what we
because like you
stand
said, you've
for.
got your courses that you developed kind
Yeah,
of while you were teaching. You've brought that in. So I think, yeah, it's just amazing to see like how holistic things can be and how you can bring all these experiences that you have in different facets of your life into one thing that you're really passionate about, which is, I think, is just really great to see.
yeah, thank you. And I hope it inspires people as well. And what I want to do is and what I do already is mentor, especially women and girls from deprivated areas, because I think just voicing another option is enough for people to go, actually, yeah, I can do this, and I can have the option. If I don't have to go to university straight away after college, or just because my mom and dad has never been to university doesn't mean that I can't have my own business in the future. It all comes down to what your passions lie and taking every opportunity. And what one thing that I am really hot on is collaborating, because I haven't just landed here on my own. I land here because of mentors that have supported me, but also collaborating and working with other people as well within the same, like-minded people that have the same outlook on life, is really important as well. And I know
No,
that's something
definitely.
that you're looking at.
Yeah, because yeah, I'm the first one in my family to go to university, and like you said, you don't know something's possible until someone's told you it. Because I was lucky; I did get into medicine the first time, and I was, you put your four medicine options, and then you have biomedical science is the one people tell you to go for as your fifth option. I never wanted to do biomedical science. I never wanted to do that, and then at a conference, someone was like, "Well, I didn't get into medicine first time, so I went into midwifery." And I was like, "Why didn't I ever think to do that?" Because I'd still be doing something patient facing, medicine based, but doing it in a different way. But I never thought that, because no one ever told me that, and no one ever showed me the different routes. Because I know for a lot of young people, it's like if you don't get into med school or you don't get into midwifery or nursing the first time, that's the end. And you're just like, I'll just do something else. But you can do so many different things and still get back to that point. Even if you
Yeah.
can't do it the first time round, you can keep trying if it's something you're really passionate about. And
Yeah.
seeing people like you do such inspiring things is amazing. And also having people like you come and talk to students and other people and uplift them, I think is so important, because there's no point doing all of these positive things if it's just you at the end of
Yeah.
it. You want to take other people with you and see them improve too, because that's how we improve the community and the healthcare system as a whole, I think.
Absolutely. And it comes to that fact that you can't do it on your own, you have to collaborate. And like you said, you have to bring people with you. I think the old view on equity, diversity and inclusion is just having the token brown or black face within a board, or it was never attainable. But now
Mm.
I think people are starting to realise you don't need validation from anybody or anything. You can just be around people and then lift them with you and take them with you. And then all of a sudden, you're all going in the same direction. You don't need to wait for a title or a position to become the change, just like
Yeah.
what you're doing. It's absolutely incredible and equally inspiring.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been so nice to hear all the things you've done with the Central Baby Company. Do you know kind of what your future plans are and what you want to kind of develop going forward? Kind of what are your plans at the moment?
Yeah, the plans are, as much as I talk about the Essential Baby Company and how I go about the way that we produce the inclusive tools and resources, so many people that will come to me and say, how can I help? I want to be involved. And it's like what we were saying, we all come together and we just
Mm.
sweep the country of all the like-minded people. So in the future, I want to create a safe space for us, like a membership where we can all come with our ideas, and once a month or a couple of times a month, we can just talk and we can just go, right, I've done this. Who else is doing the same? And then we have a platform to collaborate with people to
Yeah.
then push your innovation or idea or project forward. Because we are scattered around the country, and we're all probably doing similar stuff, but in silos and in different areas. So bringing that collaborative effect and feel is where I want to take the Essential Baby Company, because I also want to house the inclusive tools and resources that the community have so passionately created into a space where lots of health professionals can then come and use them. So I don't want it just to be a Nottingham thing or a Birmingham thing or, a somewhere else thing. I want this to be a national, open, free to use resource, but it's generated purely from the hearts and the minds of diverse communities. So that's the
No, I
future.
think that sounds great because, like you said, there's so many people who are doing so many amazing things just all dotted around, and you just happen to scroll past them on LinkedIn or scroll past them on Instagram. But it'd be so nice if you could say, I've got this idea, this is what I want to do. Do you know someone who wants to be involved? Do you know someone who can help me? Because people know people,
Yeah,
but it's about getting everyone together. So I think that's a great idea. And also getting different healthcare professionals, because I know when you're on certain courses, you might not have that much exposure to, for example, midwives or nurses or HCAs and that sort of thing. So it's nice to just get to know, what are you experiencing and what's going on there? How does that relate to my experience, and how can we work on something together? Because at the end of the day, healthcare is the MDT, isn't it? There's
yeah,
loads of
yeah,
people working together, so that should be represented in the diverse groups that we're engaging
absolutely.
with.
Absolutely. And if you think about the front line, so who's the front line? Paramedics. Like, what do they have? What knowledge, what gaps in their knowledge do we have? So there's no point of having secondary care that is really, really good and we're investing lots of time. Who are the people who are coming across diverse communities day in and day out? It's them that need to know, and it's them that need to inform
Yeah.
us of the gaps that they have, so then we can bridge that gap. I totally understand, and I agree, it has to be that multidisciplinary team approach where right the way. So if we get like a story from somebody from a diverse community or deprivated community, and we go right from start to finish, who did you come across and what did you encounter, and then we build it up from their perspective. So they phoned 111, so what can we do with 111? Let's see what
Yeah.
their perspective is. Do they need to know X, Y, and Z, and where are the gaps according to the story of this person in that diverse community? So it has to
Yeah.
work in tandem. And I think the only way that we can do this is through talking and through being really brave and not being scared of saying something that we think is not quite right or not politically correct. We need to stop these barriers of communication and go, okay, so if this level of trust within this platform, this is, the terms of reference in here, everybody is respected. You come here to learn, but you also come here to collaborate. And it's a
Yeah.
give and take. So you don't ever feel like you can't be yourself or you can't give 100% because you're scared that you're going to offend somebody, or you're scared that you might have said something wrong. And it's all about educating and it's all about learning. We don't know all the answers, do we?
No, I definitely think that, because I think it's about intent as well. It's different if you're going out and you're saying things with the intent to hurt
Yeah,
people or to upset people. But if you're genuinely there to learn and understand, I think why not educate? Because I think when you educate someone, it's a much more positive impact than, just shouting at them,
yeah,
arguing with them, ostracizing them, because education is how we carry things forward. Because just if someone says something incorrect and you just shun them immediately, they're never going to learn and they're going to go
exactly.
carry on doing that incorrect thing. Whereas if you educate them with compassion, I think that's a better way to go
It
all the
is.
time.
It is. And that's what the feeling I get when we do training with healthcare professionals is then they don't feel able to then learn and increase their knowledge because they're so fretful of saying something wrong, and they don't want to expose their ignorance and B, they don't want to upset anybody. But like you said, it's their intent. So if they are going out to upset people and they're intending to be racist or intending to make sure that they don't give equitable care, then that's a different story. We
Yeah.
can highlight them, but they're taking our focus away from actually getting to where we need to be, which is improving health outcomes. We can report them, we can get them off, and we can make sure that they don't support our communities. But we have to be 100% focused on why we are doing this. We're doing this to improve outcomes and to make sure we can bridge that gap between marginalised birthing communities and healthcare. And we can only do that with that like-minded people and have a safe space to be vulnerable. Because that's what we're talking about, is being vulnerable, isn't it?
Yeah.
And being empathetic within that space as well. We can't say these things and then reprimand somebody for doing the thing that we're telling them that it's okay to do. But that being said, we need to see action. We absolutely need to see action. And I take the lack of action on the side of you intend. That's an intent. You intend to harm a cohort of society through negligence. And they are being highlighted through organisations like the NHS Race and Health Observatory, and WEARS, which is the workforce equity, that look after the NHS and the workforce, and to make sure that it's equity based. So there are organisations that have got a handle on that and a finger on the pulse there. Can we improve? We can always improve. But we need now for people like myself and you and everybody else thinking about the future to then leave that to one side and then just go straight ahead and do it ourselves, because what we're waiting for.
Yeah, because if you're always waiting on other people, then things don't happen. Sometimes, even if it's difficult, you have to do it yourself and bring people along with you for the ride.
Definitely.
So it's been absolutely lovely talking to you. I'm very inspired. You've given me lots of ideas, and it's been lovely to hear your story. How can people contact you if they want to ask you any questions or get in touch?
So, likewise, been very, very inspirational, and I've really enjoyed this. So if people want to continue the conversation or get in touch with me or collaborate, then they can go to our website, which is www.theessentialbabyco.com. There's a participant form that you can fill in, or there's other pages on there where you can request 30-minute chat or request the time. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Gemma Poole, or the Essential Baby Company, or Instagram at Essential Baby Co, and Facebook is the same, at Essential Baby Co. There's also, if you go on to those social media handles, you'll also find the website and email addresses and phone numbers if you did want to contact me. But I really, really have enjoyed my time, and thank you so much for giving me this platform to just hear my story, and I hope it's inspired others to get into whatever they want to. If they've got something in their head that they think that they want to do, I hope it inspires them to go out and just do it. But also the platform to say, if anybody wants to collaborate, it doesn't matter where you are in your journey, I will utilise you in whatever capacity that is. And even if you don't know how you can collaborate, but you want to get involved, then you can get involved in what we call the Happy Research Group, which uses your voices in research and product design and service delivery. So you can still shape the future of maternity care for your children's children, or the future of your own children as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.